It started as a perfect weekend getaway, just 3 friends, a remote cabin in the woods, and a bubbling hot tub under the stars. No phones, no distractions, just nature and peace. That's what Kayla, Mark, and Jesse wanted a break from. The noise of the city and the stress of everyday life. The air was crisp, the fire was lit, and the water in the tub steamed gently, calling them to relax. Everything felt just right. But sometimes, things that feel perfect are just pretending. The sun dipped behind the trees and the last light faded. Strange things began to happen. At first it was smaller shadow across the tree line, a whisper no one could place, the water in the hot tub rippling when no one moved. They laughed it off, blaming the wind or an overactive imagination. But Kayla couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone. Then came the message, scratched faintly into the window from the inside. Asterisk, she watches in the steam. No one had touched the glass. Jesse swore it wasn't there before. Mark tried to joke it away, but even his voice trembled. The night was no longer warm and welcoming. It was watching, waiting. Something is hiding in the dark, and it knows. They're here. As they sink deeper into the bubbling water, they don't realize that the real danger isn't outside the tub, it's rising from beneath it. And once you're in, MOMO doesn't let you leave. The water was warmer than it should have been, almost too warm, like something was heating it from deep below. Kayla leaned back against the edge of the hot tub, trying to calm herself, but her eyes kept drifting toward the woods. The steam blurred the treetops, making everything look dreamlike and off. Mark was cracking open another drink, trying to keep the mood light, while Jessie scrolled through an old playlist she'd downloaded. No one wanted to talk about the message on the window, but they were all thinking about it. The cabin belonged to Mark's uncle, who hadn't used it in years. He mentioned it once, like it was a joke. Asterisk, don't go into the hot tub after dark, or she'll find you. They all laughed at the time, a dumb family legend. But now, with the mist thickening around them, and the air too still, it didn't feel so funny anymore. Kayla asked about the story again. Mark brushed it off, but Jesse was curious. Didn't he say something about a girl? Something about drowning? Mark hesitated, then nodded. Yeah, MOMO, local legend, they say. A girl went missing here years ago. Some people say she never left. They say her spirit lives in the water. That's when the lights flickered once, then twice. The music stopped. All 3 froze. In the silence, something shifted beneath them, just a tiny ripple, but it didn't feel natural. It felt like something brushing against Kayla's leg, something cold. Kayla jerked her leg back, eyes wide. Something touched me, she whispered. Mark looked at her, half concerned, half dismissing. Probably just a branch or something floating in the water. But they both knew that wasn't possible. The tub had been clean. Jessie reached for her phone to turn the music back on, but the screen stayed black. Dead battery. Mark's phone too. Nothing. Kayla's had been left inside. No way to call out. No way to check the time. Just silence and the soft hiss of rising steam. Inside the cabin, the lights flickered again. A dim glow lit the foggy windows for a second before going out completely. Jessie stood up, shivering as she wrapped herself in a towel. I'm going inside to check the fuse box, she said. Mark offered to go with her, but she waved him off. It's just the power. I'll be back in a minute. She walked off, barefoot, vanishing into the haze like a shadow swallowed by night. Kayla and Mark sat in the water, listening. It was quiet to quiet. Even the woods had gone still. What if this is real? Kayla whispered. Mark didn't answer. He kept staring at the water, his face pale. I remember now, he finally said. My uncle said MOMO only shows up when the water is disturbed, like if someone gets in. Kayla's breath caught. But we were already in. Mark turned to her slowly. Yeah, but someone else just joined us. A slow ripple spread between them. They weren't alone. The water stilled again, as if holding its breath. Kayla clutched the edge of the hot tub, her knuckles white. Mark scanned the dark tree line, trying to find anything to make sense of what was happening. But the silence was pressing in, heavy and unnatural. Kayla's voice was barely a whisper. Jesse's taking too long. Mark nodded, rising from the tub, but then he froze. There just behind the steam was a figure, barely visible. Pale, motionless, long dark hair dripping as if she'd just come out of the water. Kayla followed his gaze, her breath catching. In her throat, the figure didn't move. It just stood there, right at the edge of the fog, staring at them. Or through them. Mark stepped forward, water sloshing, but in that instant, the figure was gone, vanished, just like that. Kayla scrambled out of the tub, trembling. We need to find Jesse now. They ran barefoot toward the cabin, slipping on wet leaves and stumbling in the dark. The door was open, swaying gently. Inside it was colder than outside. The fire had gone out. The lights were dead. Jessie's towel was on the floor, damp, but no sign of her. Mark picked up her phone from the couch. It buzzed once in his hand, then lit up. A message appeared on the screen, even though it wasn't connected to Wi-Fi. Just 2 words. Too late. Suddenly, the bathroom door creaked open. From inside came the faint sound of water dripping, and someone breathing. Mark tightened his grip on Jesse's phone, his heart pounding in his chest. The sound from the bathroom was steady now, drip drip, followed by slow, raspy breathing, too deep to be hers. Kayla motioned for him to stay back, but he shook his head and stepped toward the door. It was half open, swaying just slightly, revealing glimpses of the tiled floor inside. The steam was thicker here, curling out from under the door like fog pouring from a cracked grave. He pushed the door open. The tub inside was full overflowing, actually water spilling silently onto the floor. But the strange thing was, the water looked darker, almost murky, like something was mixed in. Jesse's bracelet floated near the edge, still warm, but Jesse wasn't in sight. Instead, on the mirror, scrawled in what looked like wet streaks, was another message. Asterisk, she's under now. So are you. Asterisk, Kayla gasped and stepped back, only for her foot to splash into something slick. The water from the tub had reached the hallway, but then without warning, the hallway lights flickered back on for just a second, and every mirror in the house showed them not as they were, but soaking wet, pale. Their eyes darkened, mouths open like they were screaming silently underwater. Mark shouted her name, but something pulled at his ankle, something cold and unseen. Kayla tried to grab him, but her hand passed through empty air. He was gone, just like that dot, and from the living room, a soft splash echoed. The hot tub outside had just welcomed someone back. Kayla froze, heart racing as the splash echoed again. From outside, Mark was gone, yanked from the hallway without a sound. She couldn't understand how, but something about this place, this hot tub, felt alive like it had been waiting. She rushed outside, the cold air slicing against her soaked skin. The tub looked calm now. Steam rose gently, no movement, no sound, just still water and the faint reflection of the moon. She called Mark's name, then Jesse's, but the night gave nothing back. Kayla stepped closer, knees shaking. That's when she saw Mark's necklace floating beside Jesse's bracelet. Her stomach dropped. They were both down there, somewhere below the surface. Desperate, she grabbed the skimmer pole from the deck and jabbed it into the water, hoping to find something, but it just sank. Deeper than the tub should go, much deeper, far below where the bottom should have been. That's when the water started to boil, violently churning, like it was angry. Suddenly, two pale hands shot out from the water, one grabbing Kayla's arm. She screamed, yanking back, but the grip was ice cold and strong. She slipped, falling. Halfway in, for a split second, she saw them, Mark and Jesse, just beneath the surface. Eyes wide, mouths open, as if trapped mid-scream. But they weren't alone. Behind them, a face emerged. Twisted, hollow eyes, wet black hair. MOMO. Kayla tore free and scrambled back, coughing, shaking, heart nearly giving out. The water calmed again, still, empty. Then her phone lit up on the deck. A message. Asterisk, your turn. Kayla stared at the glowing phone screen, the words your turn, asterisk, burning into her mind. Her body trembled, soaked in cold water and fear, but something inside her refused to give in. She backed away from the hot tub, heart still pounding, and grabbed the car keys from the table near the cabin door. Without looking back, she sprinted barefoot to the car, the night air slicing at her skin. The engine turned over on the first try somehow, and she drove until the steam faded in her rearview mirror and the trees thinned into open road. Back in the city, Kayla couldn't sleep. Days passed and she tried to tell herself it wasn't real, that stress and fear had twisted everything. But deep down, she knew. She saw their faces. She felt Momo's hand. The story Mark's uncle told wasn't just a ghost tale, it was a warning. The legend of the haunted hot tub wasn't about superstition. It was real, and it wanted more. Police returned to the cabin weeks later. No sign of Mark or Jesse. Just a full hot tub, still warm, and a faint handprint on the glass. Kayla never went near water again, not baths, not pools, and definitely not hot tubs. She moved to a new city, changed her number, deleted every photo from that weekend. But sometimes, when the night is quiet and the air feels too still, she asks